Hi. Hi.
Hi,
Glad you can make it to Hiker's Dream. I'm Landslide or Val.
thank you.
What is your name or trail name too?
My trail name is Gigi, two capital G's.
Gigi. Okay.
Just
But
two capital G's.
you're gonna have to tell us how you got that, of course.
Okay. Um, so I was on trail for about a week. Um, and didn't have a trail name yet, and I was in Pennsylvania because I'm a flip-flopper. And there was two women at the shelter in Pennsylvania. Forget which shelter it was, but there was two women there that were friends from when they had done their through hike over 20 years before.
Mhm.
So they were in their 70s when I met them. So they had done their trail hike independently, but together. They met each other on trail. They had done it back when they were my age in their 50s. And so they were like, oh, we've got to get you a trail name. So they started, throwing out different suggestions. And I was like, no, no, no. But I had already arranged at that evening to call my granddaughters um, to share with them some things that one of my granddaughters, she's 6 now, she had asked like how I eat on the trail and where I stay and things like that. So I had made an arrangement with my son to share with her, to do a video call and share with the girls about what it was like to stay at night at the shelter and make my dinner and all that. And I was making dinner, and at the time, and I have them again, but I had a variety of different seasonings to add to my food. I don't eat meat, and so my family is very concerned that I'm getting enough protein and nutrients. So I get a lot of boxes and things like that. But when I eat the more general hiker food, like ramen or mashed potatoes or something like that, to make it a little bit more interesting and I guess to add some more nutrients to it, I carried like um, dehydrated black beans and soy sauce and powdered vegetable broth and
Mhm.
granulated lemon juice and all these other, not a lot, but just a small Talenti jar with these things in there. And so my granddaughters and my grandson call me Gigi as a grandmother name. And so these women decided, oh, I need to be Gourmet Gal and Gigi for short.
Okay, gourmet
And I said,
gal.
oh, let me think about that one. And I liked it, so I kept it.
Okay. Long story short. Okay. That's fun. Okay. Uh, Landslide, by the way, because of all the falls I took, and
Oh,
causing rock slides and stuff like that. Yeah. So because I counted them about 12 times I fell, 2 times were face falls without catching
oh,
myself. Yeah. Bloody
oh
nose and
man.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no.
See, I did the PCT in 2014 with my son. That's
Okay.
basically all I've done. That I just got hooked from then. So I'm doing
Yeah.
these hiker shows to promote hiking and hikers and the environment. That's what
Very good.
caught my eye. It was you and the environment and looking at the flowers and the flora and the fauna, and that's kind of cool because most people just race through there,
Hmm.
making their mileage. So
Right.
you pay attention, and that's what I'm kind of curious about. What you saw out there, how you see things, you know.
Yeah. I really, I do like to hike at my pace because I mean, I'm never going to be a fast hiker, but I like to hike at my pace because I get to notice these kinds of things. I take a lot of pictures, which you've seen on my blog and all. Um, but I noticed like, so I'm allergic to poison ivy, like a lot of people.
Me
And
too.
that's why I'm at my friend's house for a few days.
Ah,
um, but I notice, so I pay attention to where the poison plants are. I know poison ivy, poison sumac, and poison oak. I know what they look like. So I pay attention to where they are. But in doing that, when I was on the northern half, I noticed that, well, I noticed a couple of things. First off, I noticed that when there's poison ivy, many times there's also, oh gosh, I just lost the name of it. There's another plant that often grows near it.
yeah, I
Um,
forget. There's to counter it, right? It's a counter measure.
no, it's
No?
not that one. That's a different one. But
No?
there's, um, Oh, and it'll come to me randomly. But anyway, so I noticed that these two plants are often growing in the same areas. But I also, on the converse, noticed that where there were blueberry plants or mountain laurels or rhododendrons, there never seemed to be poison ivy in the area. So I noticed that, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed that those three plants, well, not the blueberries, but the mountain laurel and the rhododendrons and the poison ivy seem to fade out. And I don't remember seeing very much at all from like Vermont on.
Okay.
Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, I don't remember seeing any of that. Now, there were some alpine laurel, which is a really small mountain laurel, up in Maine, but and actually above the tree line in New Hampshire as well. But yeah, I don't remember seeing hardly any, if any at all, of those three plants. The poison ivy, which is odd because it's not one that grows in the same place, but the mountain laurel and the rhododendrons weren't growing in the really cold zones. But now that I'm down in the South again, yeah, it's everywhere. And so I really do try to pay attention of where those plants are, because I don't want to break out. But I think that I got this when, and it's actually a lot better than it was. I think I got the rash. It's on, yeah, my other arm. It was on my neck.
Yeah.
Sometimes when there's a blowdown, the part that's across the trail is the branches and the leaves and all. And so there were a couple of times. So I think there was one of the times that I had to actually climb through the top of a tree, that there may have been something that was growing in there. I didn't notice it at the time, otherwise I wouldn't have crawled through it. But that's the only thing I can think. And it's kind of driving me nuts because I've been off trail for almost a week waiting for this to clear up. That really bad one on my wrist is concerning.
Takes about a week. We have poison ivy here on the West Coast, so it takes about a week, to get through it. I take hot showers. I know it spreads it, but it sure relieves it a lot. Hot showers, hot water,
Cold water seems to work really well for me. And I did a couple of days ago, I had a telehealth appointment with my own primary care, and he said he called in a prescription for the local pharmacy so I could get some cream, a steroid cream for the poison ivy to help it, or whatever this rash is, to clear it up a little bit quicker. So that was good. And it is clearing up. It's just this bit on my wrist is much worse.
Yeah. Well, watch it. Yeah. It's growing. It's not dormant. We have a dormancy period here. Where the leaves are gone, but the stems are still intact and you can still get it.
Yeah, that happens here too. And I do know what the stems look like, especially when they're growing like up a tree and you can see the hairy vines climbing up the tree. Yeah. I'm
down here in Baja right now in Mexico, and I've seen it twice, but both times huge. It just up. I think it was a couple of oak trees. It was growing up at oak trees. Huge. I mean, huge plant. Huge plant.
Yeah.
So you're going southbound on the AT?
I am a flip-flop. So I started in Harpers Ferry and went up to Maine.
Oh, okay.
And I summited Mount Katahdin at the end of July. And then I went back to Maryland, stayed a few days with my family. I told my husband, kick me back on the trail after 2 days at home. I don't want to get too comfortable, which is why I'm antsy right now at my friend's house. But so I went back to Harpers Ferry, and then I'm in the middle of Virginia right now. And I'm staying with a friend while I wait for this to heal up.
And you're going to do the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. Why are you flip-flopping?
This delays me a little bit. Well, I don't like people as much.
Okay.
That's the big reason. The start in Georgia. No, I like talking in small groups.
Yeah,
but
well, this is small. Yeah.
Right. No, and the group that you see at a shelter or even at a hostel, I'm okay with that, because even a big hostel like Shaw's, there were some people that I knew. I didn't have to interact with everybody all the time, but it was I could interact with the people that I knew when I was there. And the small groups that you see at the shelters, those are fun. You might have a dozen people at the most. But when I was planning my journey originally, I was thinking, which way was I going to do it? Northbound, southbound, flip flop, what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And I looked at the ATC website where you register your hike.
Mhm.
It helps them to manage the population of people moving along the trail. And so I was looking and I saw that in February, March, and April, there were over 3,000 people that were starting. Now, this is when I looked like back in January, that people that had already registered the hike. So February, March, and April, there were over 3,000 people that were starting in Georgia. That same time period, there was just over 100 people starting in Harpers Ferry.
Yeah.
There were, most days in Georgia, there were a good 50 people starting every day. And I was like, that's a lot of people fighting for resources. That's a lot of people to try to, be around. So yeah, there was one other person starting the same day I started in Harpers Ferry, and I've had several nights at all different parts of the trail where I've been the only person at a shelter, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I do like to hike with people sometimes, but not every day, all the time.
Well, the PCT too is crowded now, and they have staggered starts. And you have
Oh,
to
wow.
register, and it's like the same thing: 50 people each day during that starting season, March, April.
Mm-hmm.
So southbounders have to wait longer at the PCT because of the snow levels in Washington. So it's a later
Right.
start. It's a little bit different, the strategy and the logistics, but I know my first interview with Mango. He's doing it southbound, so I'm trying to get a hold of him again.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you a hiker, or have you done more hikes? Or this is your first one?
This is my first through hike.
Mhm.
I grew up doing backcountry camping, canoe camping, day hiking, all that with my family. And I took a backpacking class in college. That's what introduced me
Oh,
to actual backpacking. So 30 some years ago, I took a backpacking class as an undergrad. It was one of my gym classes. It was the best gym class.
yeah,
Our
wow.
final exam, our final exam was a weekend trip on the Appalachian in Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, I just loved it. But my husband is retired Army. So when we were moving around the world in the Army, backpacking kind of fell to the wayside. We didn't have the gear. When we lived close to the college, we could borrow the college gear because I had taken the class. But yeah, when we started moving around with the Army, backpacking itself fell to the wayside. But we still did a lot of day hiking. We day hiked when we were down in Tennessee. We up in Alaska. We did a lot of hiking in Alaska. And in Germany, when we were over there, we actually had some really good friends who were German nationals. No connection to the military other than I met her through a quilting group. But the couple, they liked to do day hikes. And German hiking is a little bit different because you park the car, you go for your 5K or however long you're going to do your day hike, and you end at a restaurant.
Okay.
And you have schnitzel and beer and kartoffeln, potatoes. And that's what you do. You sit and have a nice lunch. You sit, it's an all day excursion, but it's a short hike to get to, maybe a 5K, maybe 8K, not very far to get to the restaurant. And it's a restaurant in the woods that, yes, there are roads to go to it, but we would hike to the restaurant, sit down, have a nice, relaxing, really big dinner or lunch, and then hike back to the car, work off all those calories.
That's kind of like we have something called glamping. Glamping, have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's down here in Mexico. There's a lot of that because we're near the border, near Tijuana. So a lot of people come down here to enjoy their camping experience in luxurious style, so
Right.
kind of like that. Or the
Yeah.
Camino. The Camino too sounds like that too. Camino Trail
That is on my list, actually.
oh, okay.
That is on my list. I don't have a lot of through hikes on my list, but I think I want to do that one. That one has been oh gosh, there was a movie made at least 10 years ago, I guess it was.
About the guy who was doing it for his dad?
Michael Sheen, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
He was doing it for his son, yeah.
Oh, for his
So
son, yeah.
right. And
His
it was
ashes.
actually
He took his ashes along, right?
right.
Yeah.
It was actually Michael Sheen and his son Emilio Estevez were the stars of that movie.
Yeah.
So that was like, that's what introduced me to El Camino. And I was like, I think I might want to do that one. And that was before I was even, this hike has always been on my bucket list since I did the college class. But yeah, once I heard about that, I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so I kind of was interested in looking into that. And there's other places that I want to hike, but I don't know that any others would be on a bucket list kind of thing.
You want to come over here to the West Coast and do the PCT?
I only have a couple of fears on the trail, and running out of water is one of them. And I understand that's a concern on the PCT.
Well, there's stretches, yeah. There's more and more trail angels, but
Okay.
you can't count on, of course. But yeah, there's portions of it you have to be careful. But in general, I mean, the desert's only like 30 miles or something. The Mojave, and then there's other sections too. But I wouldn't let that stop you. Seems like you're an adventuresome girl. You can do it. If you're doing this, you're doing it. I mean, yeah. Sounds like you're hooked too.
Yeah, I really love it. And there's just something about being in the forest, or on the trail. It doesn't even have to be in the forest. It could be above the tree line or in a meadow. It's just it soothes my soul. It's really peaceful. I've had people say, well, how do you stay alone with your thoughts so long? And, that's not a problem to me. I think about everything and anything. I have a playlist that goes through my brain, and, anything can spark a playlist, a song to be an earworm for a while. I was up in Vermont and I stayed on the lawn of a guy named Dan. He's a trail angel whose house is like right next to the trail. And you can ask him if he would let you tent. And, it's in the gut hooks that, this is a great place. And so, yeah, so I did. And so the whole next day, the Elton John song, Daniel, was playing through my head, so anything can spark a song to keep playing. And sometimes I change it up and I listen to another song in my brain. I don't have earbuds or anything. I had them for a short while, but I sent them home because I was only using them maybe once a week. And those were more for when I was doing yoga in the shelter, and it was a crowded shelter. And so to block out the discussion going on around me, I would put in my earbuds and listen to some quiet music and do some stretching. But yeah, I sent them home a long time ago.
This is why I like to do interviews with people on the trail, not when they get back up, because the perceptions you have, just interesting to hear how you perceive everything, because you're away now. Well, you're kind of away, but you don't have the distractions you do back home with the stressors and all the things going on that you have to take care of, bills and things, chores and things. So you're kind of in a nice space to look at things from a different viewpoint. And I like to hear that from people. And how has it changed you at all, or hiking when you come back home? Or how do you see things?
I think it kind of, yes and no. And I say that because when I was home, I was only home for a few days. And so I didn't let myself get bothered because my husband and my teenage son are home. And so I didn't let myself get bothered by things that were going on at home that otherwise, before the hike would have really annoyed me. Like they rearranged the appliances on the kitchen counter kind of thing. This has to be over. No, I didn't let it bother me. So, I think that part, that's changed me. I feel more peace about things that I can't control and that don't really matter.
That's
it.
Yeah.
There was.
I found that too, like letting go of some attachments or attitudes that I don't really need to carry anymore, because you carry very little on the trail. So you take that back home and say, you don't have to carry that or concern myself. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Life still goes on. I'm still
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And I decided I had bonked back when I was in New York. And I was just getting really frustrated. And like anytime when you bonk, you don't necessarily recognize it until after the fact. And I was just getting really emotional. I was really upset because I hadn't been making my planned miles that week. And I was down in tears a couple times that day. It was a rainy day. It was just really a hard day. And then, I got to the hotel that I booked a hotel room. I need to get off trail. So I booked a hotel room, and got off trail and, got myself some food. And then, oh, that's what happened. I bonked. But the other side of that was I decided that, I'm going to change the focus of my hike. I had a estimate. I have a lot of care packages coming, like I said. So, I had an estimated timeline of when I would be at different places so that people could arrange when they wanted to send it, when it fit into their, year-long schedule or whatever.
Mhm.
And I had estimated for, like they say, 15 miles a day to be able to do it in about 6 months. And I decided, I had my spreadsheet for the estimate so that people would still know when to send me things, but I was adjusting it. I started adjusting it as I went along the trail. And I decided, I needed to change my focus, not just from finishing it in X number of days, but, throw that out because, when I get back to work, I get back to work. I'm an independent tutor. My families know that I'm doing this, and, I'll see them when I'm get done. And I said, it'll be before Thanksgiving, but, I don't know exactly when.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so, so I decided that night that number one goal is to enjoy my hike, which is why I observed things like, oh, there weren't any snakes in the whites at all. I only saw like 2 snakes in all of New Hampshire, you know? Um, I saw more in Maine again, but in New Hampshire, I hardly saw any snakes at all, which, I like seeing the snakes. um, I give them their distance, but I like to, I think it's cool to see them in wild. Um, so enjoy my hike, take my pictures, take my time, enjoy the smells, enjoy watching the butterflies in the meadows, whatever, um, listen to the birds, all of that. But then also stay healthy and stay uninjured.
Mhm.
So, and that goes to taking my time, which is part of why I'm slow because I don't have a name like landslide, but I'm not very coordinated. So I go very slowly, especially over uneven rocky terrain.
Which there's a
My
lot
other
of.
fear,
Yeah.
well, my main fear is running out of water, but my other big fear is a serious injury,
Mhm.
one that's going to completely sideline my hike, or it could be life-changing injury. So I'm slow because of that, but that's okay. So staying uninjured. I also don't want to get an overuse injury by pushing myself too much. So even though I'm doing more mileage now in the South because I had such great training and physical conditioning built up from the North half, um,
Mhm.
yeah, the South half is much easier for me, but I'm still cautious about doing, bigger miles because I don't want an overuse injury.
Right.
And I make sure I get enough rest every night. It's another reason for not doing mega miles and waking up at the crack of dawn and hiking until sunset. I don't do that. I stop between 4 and 6 o'clock every night. Once in a great while, I'll go a little bit longer. But for the most part, I'm done between 4 and 6 p.m. Um, and that's so that I don't get exhausted and get sick because I know my body, if I exhaust myself, I will get sick. So, and that's the other reason why the poison ivy or whatever this rash is from is driving me nuts because I've been off trail for 5 days now. No,
Wow.
today's 6. Today is 6 days. It was Sunday last week that I was, um last time I was hiking. It's
Uh,
driving me crazy.
Are you doing any journaling, or
I do journal,
are
yeah.
you writing a
And I
book? Uh,
don't know if I'll actually write it. There's a lot of books out there about this
yeah.
hike.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'll actually write a book out of it, but it's more, like you said before, personal reflection. And, so yeah, there are times that my entry is just a log about what happened that day. But, some of the things that I think when I'm on the trail are much deeper or personal reflection kind of things. And so sometimes I'll journal on that at night. My dad was the main person who taught me about backcountry adventuring. When I was a kid, we lived an hour from the Jersey Shore. My family went into the mountains for vacations. Everybody else is going down the shore. We went up to the mountains. And so my mom told me, several years ago, I was doing a blank page journal where you can like make checklists, and I drew in a calendar and just illustrating, doodling, journaling, all, whatever I felt like doing, I was journaling on that page. And one of my pages, when I first started this journal, I was really excited to do it. And I did a bucket list page, and I had this trail. This was like 2020, 2019, it was a while ago. And I had put, hike the Appalachian. And my mom told me at that time, and then she's reminded me a couple times, that this was on my dad's bucket list. But my dad died from cancer in his early 50s. So, he didn't make it. He didn't do this adventure. And so there's a lot of times that, I am doing this hike for me, but there are a lot of times that I think as I'm walking along, my dad would have loved this. And I feel his presence at those times. And it's kind of interesting when that happens.
That's why people follow the blogs here, the hiker blog, because they're experiencing it through you. Yeah, totally. That's why I follow. Totally. You get that experience. You're experiencing it, and so am I. So
I'm glad it's coming through.
Oh yeah, totally. I'd like to keep these to about half an hour, so keep them short and sweet. One last question. What have you become more aware of on your hike? Because awareness to me is like everything. Awareness is like, because it just goes on and on, and there's no limit to your awareness, no matter what you believe or think or your attitude. But awareness just an is. You are in a piece of awareness. So what have you become more aware of? It's very
so I am aware of my surroundings, and I am becoming more aware of my surroundings, but I think it's more that I'm becoming aware of my own self, on my own inner keel. And I say that is in meaning, like when I'm on the trail, I can't change what the weather is. I can't change what the terrain is going to do or what the elevation is. I can only change what I'm going to do about it. So am I going to look at the terrain and say, this is awful? And no, I'm going to take my time, enjoy it, and just be careful. Do the best I can, just not get injured. Am I going to look at the elevation? I was like, oh, this is so hard. This is such a long climb. No, I'm going to shorten my day maybe, so I'm not hiking as many hours, or take a break in the middle or whatever. And just, enjoy the view when I get to the top. Enjoy the changing of the different levels of habitat as you go up, and that's kind of like goes along with when I was home and the countertop appliances had been rearranged. It's not a problem. Just becoming aware and being an even keel for what I can manage about whatever it is.
And if I may, you're facing it too. You're facing it. You're not avoiding it, or no matter what's there. You have creek, river crossing, snow, whatever.
And those really hard, challenging for me rock climbs up north. They were terrifying for me.
Yeah.
Climbing, Mount Katahdin, I almost broke into tears. I had to hold them. I was holding back my tears when I climbed onto the sign at the top of Katahdin, because it was so terrifying climbing up there for me. But it's okay. This is what we're doing today. I've got to climb up here, or I'm not going to be able to claim a through hiker.
I know. Sierra's
there's no helicopter coming to get me. I've got to go. I don't want to go backwards. I've got to go forward.
So good for you. You're doing it. Maybe if you could leave me like a link to how people can contact you if you want any photos, videos, and we'll add it to the final edit. My editor got hacked, so it's going to take a while to get this out, but I'll send you the
Okay.
link once it's done. And if you don't
Okay.
mind, I can
Thanks.
post it around to some of the groups if you don't mind.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No.
Am I able to share that as well? Can I share that link as well, like on my
Oh,
Facebook?
sure. Oh, yeah.
Okay, great.
That's the idea. Yeah, just get it out
Great.
there and share what we're doing. Maybe more people will get interested in hiking, and then through that, saving the planet. Because there won't be any hiking
Yeah.
left if things are poisoned and polluted and burned and
Yeah.
radiated. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You kind of don't see it when you're out there because there's so much wilderness, but it's creeping in. We see things creeping in because out here, the forest fires, a lot of forest fires now in Oregon, Northern California. And even in the Sierras, people were getting giardia when I hiked if they didn't filter their water. I mean, it's surprising. And the pure, pristine water, because of this and that, polluting the water. So
Yeah. No, I filter all of mine.
Yeah.
Even if it's coming right from the ground in the spring, I filter everything.
Yeah.
Just
be safe.
it's like Russian roulette otherwise,
Right.
And it can be deadly. So
Right.
take the extra time to do that.
Well, thank you, Gigi. Pleasure knowing you, and I hope you're successful in your hike, and I hope to keep following you. So,
all right.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Happy trails.
Thanks. Bye-bye. You too.
Bye.
I bring you the Maine woods. And that's the forest on the AT in Maine.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit